The clinking of silverware and hushed conversations filled the Gilded Spoon. It was a place that showed off great wealth, where expensive dishes were served on fine china. For Maya, working there was just a job, a path to a different dream. Each night she put on her crisp uniform, a bright white against the rich dark wood and gleaming brass of the restaurant. Tonight, like many nights, one guest stood out, not for his kindness, but for his coldness. Ethan Hayes, the powerful CEO of Hayes Technologies, sat at his usual corner table. He was a man known for building a huge business and for pushing aside anyone who got in his way. His expensive suits and even sharper words were famous. Tonight, his eyes were glued to his tablet, but his voice was loud enough for everyone near his table to hear. "Waitress, this wine is lukewarm. Don't you understand how to chill white wine?" Maya felt a familiar knot tighten in her stomach. She approached his table, her smile practiced and steady. "My apologies, sir. I will get you a fresh glass immediately." "Make sure it's actually cold this time," finally glancing up. His gaze was dismissive, as if she were a minor bother. He then went back to his tablet, scrolling through what looked like stock market numbers. He clearly enjoyed making people feel unimportant. Maya wondered if he even saw her, or just saw the uniform. Maya walked away, heading to the bar. Her hands felt damp. This was her life, serving people like Ethan, taking their insults, and pretending it didn't hurt. But deep down, a different feeling burned. It was a quiet fire she kept hidden, a secret plan that fueled her every long hour. Ethan Hayes thought he knew everything. He believed his money and power made him untouchable. He was always so confident, so sure of himself. He never imagined that the quiet waitress, serving his expensive meal, held information that could change his world. He didn't know that she was playing a different game, a game with much higher stakes than dinner service. His company, Hayes Technologies, was facing a huge moment. A rival company was trying to buy it. The whole business world was watching. Ethan was trying to save his company, fighting a secret battle to keep control. What he didn't realize was that the biggest player in this high-stakes game wasn't some other CEO in a fancy office. It was her, the woman he treated like dirt, the one he mocked for simply doing her job. Maya carried the fresh glass of wine back to his table. A secret smile touched her lips, hidden behind her professional mask. He thought she was just a waitress. He thought she was nobody. He was so wrong. Her quiet strength and hidden knowledge were about to become his biggest surprise. This man, who saw her as invisible, was about to see her as the most important person in his life. He was about to find out exactly who she was. The night wore on at the Gilded Spoon. Maya moved through the tables with quiet grace, serving customers who barely noticed her. But she noticed them. She noticed the way Ethan Hayes ate his expensive steak, barely looking at it, his mind clearly somewhere else. He was a man consumed by his own world, a world of numbers and deals. He thought only of power. Maya thought of something else entirely. She thought of her father, David. David was a kind man, a brilliant engineer. He had poured his heart and soul into Hayes Technologies in its early days. He had worked tirelessly, believing in Ethan Hayes' vision. But then things had gone wrong. Years ago, David had made a discovery, a new kind of energy storage device. It was groundbreaking. It could change the world. He showed it to Ethan Hayes, full of hope. But Ethan, always looking for a quick win, decided it wasn't profitable enough at that moment. He shelved David's project. Even worse, Ethan took credit for other ideas David had shared. When David spoke up, he was pushed out. He lost his job, his savings, and his spirit. He never really recovered. Maya remembered her father's sadness, the way his eyes lost their spark. He told her, "They stole my dreams, Maya. They stole my work." He passed away a few years later, a broken man. His final words to her were a whisper, "Don't let them forget, little one. Don't let them win." Those words became Maya's guiding star. She finished her studies, not in engineering like her father, but in business and finance. She learned about mergers and acquisitions, about how companies were bought and sold. She worked multiple jobs, including the Gilded Spoon, saving every penny. She was preparing for a very long game. Now, Ethan Hayes was in trouble. His company, Hayes Technologies, was vulnerable. Another bigger company called Apex Innovations was trying to buy it. This was a hostile takeover. Ethan was fighting hard to keep his company. He thought he was fighting against Apex Innovations. He had no idea he was also fighting against Maya. At Ethan's table, he finally put down his tablet. He called to Maya, "Waitress, another glass of that lukewarm wine, please. And perhaps you could try to look a bit more enthusiastic? It's not every day you get to serve a visionary." He puffed out his chest slightly. Maya felt a jolt of anger, but she kept it hidden. She smiled. "Of course, sir. Right away." She walked to the bar, her mind racing. Visionary. He was a thief of dreams. A man who built his empire on the backs of others, then forgot them. She remembered watching news reports about the takeover battle. The business channels called it the fight for Hayes Technologies. They talked about Ethan Hayes's brilliant tactics, his cunning moves. But what they didn't know was that Apex Innovations wasn't the only force at play. There was a hidden buyer, a silent player who was slowly and carefully buying up shares of Hayes Technologies, bit by bit. This mysterious buyer was driving up the price, making it harder for Apex to take over, but also making Ethan's fight more complicated. This silent buyer was making moves that confused everyone in the stock market. No one knew who they were or what their goal was. They just knew this buyer was very clever and had a lot of money. The financial news anchors called this unknown buyer a dark horse. They said this person was changing the entire game. Maya looked at Ethan Hayes across the room. He was a man full of pride and arrogance. He was so focused on fighting the enemy he could see, Apex Innovations. He couldn't even imagine the enemy he couldn't see, the one quietly working behind the scenes. The enemy who was much closer than he thought. He didn't know that the Dark Horse was not some powerful corporation or rich investor. It was a waitress, working hard to get her revenge and justice for her father. Her plan was coming together. The pieces were almost in place. And tonight, the final, most important piece of her plan was about to be revealed. The evening at the Gilded Spoon slowly moved towards its close. Most of the tables were clearing out. Only a few guests remained, savoring their last sips of wine. Ethan Hayes was one of them. He was still engrossed in his tablet making calls, his voice low but tense. He seemed stressed, a hint of worry finally showing on his usually confident face. The takeover battle was clearly taking its toll. Maya watched him from a distance as she cleared other tables. Her heart felt a mix of satisfaction and sadness. Satisfaction because her plan was working. Sadness because of the pain her father had carried. She remembered David, sitting at their small kitchen table, sketching diagrams of his invention on napkins, his eyes bright with hope, hope that Ethan Hayes had crushed. Now that invention, the energy storage device, was more important than ever. The world was moving towards clean energy. David's idea, once deemed not profitable enough by Ethan, was now worth billions, and it was still owned by Hayes Technologies. This made the company a prime target for Apex Innovations, and also a gold mine for anyone who could get control of it. Maya had spent years working with a team of lawyers and financial advisors. They had helped her understand the complex world of corporate law and stock markets. They had found the legal loophole that Ethan Hayes had used to push her father out and take credit for his work. They also found the old agreements, signed by a much younger and trusting David, that clearly showed his ownership of the initial patent rights for the core technology. These documents were her secret weapon. Tonight, after weeks of careful planning, the final pieces of her strategy were falling into place. The mysterious, dark horse buyer had slowly gathered enough shares to become a major voice in Hayes Technologies. Not enough to own the company outright, but enough to block Ethan's plans and make a huge impact on the takeover. Maya approached Ethan Hayes's table to offer him coffee or dessert. He finally looked up, annoyance clear on his face. "Just the check, please. And for future reference, your service has been..." Passable, at best. He smiled a thin, mean smile. Perhaps you should consider a career that doesn't involve so much interaction with actual people. Maya's hand trembled slightly as she placed the check on the table. She looked him straight in the eye. Sir, I believe you have a meeting tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock, don't you? At the Hayes Technologies headquarters? Ethan froze. His smile vanished. His eyebrows drew together. He looked at her, truly looked at her for the first time. How do you know that? That information is confidential. His voice was sharp, suspicious. Maya leaned in slightly, lowering her voice. It's about the Apex Innovations takeover, isn't it? And the mysterious buyer who's been complicating everything? Ethan's face turned pale. He put his hands flat on the table, pushing his tablet away. Who are you? What is this? Maya straightened up, her professional waitress smile replaced by a look of calm determination. My name is Maya Sharma, and I am the secret buyer. The air in the fancy restaurant seemed to crackle. Ethan Hayes stared at her, his mouth slightly open. He was speechless, a rare sight. The confident, arrogant CEO was gone, replaced by a man struck dumb by shock. He quickly tried to find his voice. That's impossible. You're a waitress. My God, this is some kind of joke, isn't it? Maya shook her head slowly. No joke, Mr. Hayes. Just justice. My father was David Sharma. The mention of her father's name hit Ethan like a physical blow. His eyes widened even further, a flicker of memory, then fear, crossing his face. The name brought back old ghosts, ghosts of broken promises and stolen dreams. He remembered David. He remembered the innovative engineer he had pushed out. He remembered the patent, and suddenly, the full weight of Maya's words and the meaning of her presence crashed down on him, the silent buyer, the dark horse. It was her. And she had come for what was rightfully hers. The quiet elegance of the gilded spoon now felt like a stage for a very personal drama. Ethan Hayes, usually so composed, was visibly shaking. The color had drained from his face, leaving it ashen. He looked at Maya, no longer seeing a mere waitress, but a formidable opponent. The realization of who she was and the name of her father had hit him hard. He remembered David Sharma, a brilliant but naive engineer, easily outmaneuvered. Ethan forced a laugh, a shaky, unconvincing sound. David Sharma. That's ancient history, a disgruntled former employee. His claims were dismissed years ago. He tried to regain his usual confident tone, but his voice cracked. Maya remained calm, her eyes steady on his. His claims were dismissed because he didn't have the resources to fight you, Mr. Hayes. I do, and my team has found the original patent agreements, the ones that clearly state his name, not yours, as the primary inventor of the core energy storage technology. Ethan's jaw dropped. He swallowed hard. The patent. He had thought that old paperwork was buried forever, lost in the archives of early company documents. It was the foundation of Hayes Technology's most valuable asset, the very thing Apex Innovations coveted. Without it, his company's value would plummet. Maya continued, her voice low and firm. Tomorrow's meeting isn't just about Apex Innovations. It's about a vote of no confidence in your leadership, Mr. Hayes. A vote that I, as a significant shareholder, will be casting, and I'm not alone. Other shareholders, tired of your arrogance and the company's recent struggles, are ready to support a change in leadership. Ethan stared at her, his mind reeling. He had been so focused on fighting Apex, he hadn't seen the true enemy growing in the shadows. This wasn't just about money for Maya, it was about something far deeper. It was about vengeance. He remembered a meeting from years ago, right after David Sharma had been pushed out. He had scoffed at David's protests, confident in his legal team's ability to bury any challenge. You think a small-time engineer can take on Hayes Technologies? You're dreaming, David. Those words echoed in his mind now, cold and mocking, thrown back at him by David's daughter. Maya saw the recognition, the fear in his eyes. My father died believing you had stolen his life's work. He died without justice. I am here to correct that wrong, and I am prepared to reveal all the details of your past actions to the press, to the board, and to every single shareholder. The stolen patents, the credit you took, the way you pushed him out. Ethan gripped the table edge, his knuckles white. You can't do this. It will destroy everything. The company will be worthless. Maya raised an eyebrow. That's a risk I'm willing to take, Mr. Hayes, if it means my father's legacy is finally acknowledged. But there is another way, a way that benefits everyone, including Hayes Technologies. She paused, letting her words sink in. Apex Innovations is a powerful company. They want the technology. I want justice for my father. And you, Mr. Hayes, want to save what's left of your reputation and perhaps avoid legal battles that could bankrupt you. The realization dawned on Ethan. She wasn't just here to destroy him. She had a plan, a negotiation. She had played the long game, not just to hurt him, but to gain leverage. He saw the cold, calculated intelligence behind her quiet demeanor, a sharpness he had completely missed because he had dismissed her as just a waitress. He saw his own arrogance reflected back at him, and it was a bitter pill to swallow. The girl he had mocked, the girl whose father he had ruined, now held his future in her hands. The meeting tomorrow would not be just about Apex Innovations, it would be about his reckoning. The tension in the restaurant was thick enough to cut with a knife. Ethan Hayes stared at Maya, a million thoughts racing through his mind. His empire, built on ambition and ruthless decisions, was now teetering. The person he had dismissed as a background character was about to rewrite his story. Maya watched him, knowing this was the moment of truth. Tomorrow, you can either face a public scandal, a devastating legal battle, and the complete loss of your company's value, or you can work with me. Ethan finally spoke, his voice hoarse. Work with you? What do you want? Maya explained her proposal calmly. I will use my shares to support a new leadership for Hayes Technologies, a leadership that respects innovation and fair dealing, and I will ensure my father's name is fully recognized as the true inventor of the core energy storage technology. We can then work together to sell the company to Apex, but on terms that are fair and honor my father's legacy, not just your profit. She paused, letting him consider the weight of her words. This way, Hayes Technologies can still thrive. My father gets the credit he deserves, and you, Mr. Hayes, walk away with what remains of your reputation and a substantial, though reduced, payout. The alternative is total ruin. The next morning, the board meeting at Hayes Technologies was unlike any other. Ethan Hayes walked in, his usual swagger replaced by a grim resolve. Maya was already there, not in a waitress uniform, but in a smart business suit, sitting with her legal team. The dark horse had revealed itself. Ethan, facing the cold, hard truth, stood before the board. He announced his resignation as CEO, citing personal reasons. He also made a surprising announcement. I wish to formally recognize the invaluable contributions of David Sharma, whose early innovations were critical to the foundational technology of Hayes Technologies. His vision will now be properly honored. A murmur went through the room. Maya felt a quiet victory. It wasn't about destroying Ethan, but about rebuilding what he had broken. With Maya's support, a new CEO was appointed, a person known for ethical leadership. The negotiations with Apex Innovations began again, this time with David Sharma's patent rights properly acknowledged, significantly increasing the sale price for the company. Maya made sure a substantial fund was set up in her father's name, dedicated to supporting young, ethical inventors. Justice had been served, not with a roar, but with a quiet, powerful determination. The waitress, once mocked and underestimated, had shown the true meaning of strength and resilience. She had honored her father's memory and changed the course of a major corporation, all while serving coffee. This story shows us that true power doesn't always come with a fancy title or a big bank account. Sometimes it comes from quiet strength, a burning sense of justice, and the courage to fight for what's right, no matter how long it takes. If Maya's story of resilience and the fight for justice moved you, please give this video a thumbs up. Share it with someone who needs a reminder that quiet determination can change the world. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more true stories that prove even the smallest voice can make the biggest difference. Your support helps us bring these powerful narratives to life. Thank you for watching.